Okay, let's break down this question then. Hopefully you had a go at answering it in the previous video. Just to go over again, when it comes to scaling Scrum for big projects that need several Scrum teams, which two of the following assumptions are the most accurate? So we're picking two here. Right, let's go through them one by one. So firstly, a person focusing on the sprint backlog of a Scrum team is often more productive than the same person working on multiple Scrum teams at the same time. Now, hopefully this one stood out to you. Of course, this is about focus. And the more that we can focus on one particular thing, the more efficient and effective we are. So this aligns with Scrum's emphasis on focus and minimalizing context switching. Context switching, in my experience, causes a lot of stress. And I read a book called The One Thing, which I highly recommend. And in that book, it says when they did some studies, I think they said it was like 30% inefficiency from context switching. We can't actually multitask very well as humans. The term multitasking really came from the creation of computer chips, where computers were doing multitasking, but us humans were a lot better when we focus on one thing. So that is one of the core values of Scrum, and that's why this one is a correct answer. When a developer is dedicated to one team, they can maintain flow, reduce cognitive overload, and increase efficiency. So A is a correct answer. Next one, B. A well-structured product backlog can minimize and often eliminate development team members working on multiple Scrum teams during a sprint. So we definitely want a well-structured product backlog, of course, and that really can help to minimize and even often eliminate members who are working on multiple Scrum teams during a sprint, because it's better organized. A better organized product backlog can ensure that teams can align their priorities and dependencies, reducing the need for certain individuals to have to split across different teams. And this also supports that principle of self-organizing and focus, and avoids unnecessary complexity. Of course, it means that you've got to get that backlog well organized though. So there's another reason why the product backlog, the better it's refined, the better it's organized, and the better it's communicated with the Scrum team, then the efficiency gains that you're going to get from that. Okay, so let's have a look at C and D. Those are our two answers, by the way. Those are the correct ones. So let's have a look at C. Team members must work full-time on a single Scrum team. Now, that is not something that is a strict requirement of Scrum. Again, with focus, it is good that they work full-time on one single Scrum team, but it's not exactly, it's not a definite that Scrum needs. In reality, there are going to be people that work part-time or maybe even do actually work in different Scrum teams. It is beneficial if they are working in one team, of course, but some organizations successfully use part-time contributors, and but full-time focus is preferred for the reasons that I've mentioned. It's just not a strict requirement in Scrum. And D, customizing the core Scrum framework is necessary to be successful with Scrum at large scale. Whilst adjustments may be needed for scaling Scrum, such as using Scrum at scale and safe, or a nexus as provided by scrum.org, which I also talk about in my Scrum courses, you emphasize in basically you need to keep to the Scrum principles and stick to the Scrum framework. And there are frameworks for scaling Scrum, but we're still doing Scrum essentially, and we don't want to change it from its core principles because that can dilute the framework's effectiveness. So customizing the core Scrum, the thing about this question is it says the core Scrum framework, and that's not what we want to be changing. If it said the customizing the Scrum framework is necessary, it'd be a bit more dubious, but the fact that it says core Scrum framework, these kind of questions want you to make sure that you stick to the framework as it is intended in Scrum. It does say in the Scrum guide, if you're not doing in fact, let me bring it up and just double check Scrum guide. Okay, so it says in the end note of Scrum on the Scrum guide, the Scrum framework as outlined herein is immutable, and whilst implementing any parts of the Scrum is possible, the result is not Scrum. Scrum exists in its entirety and functions well as a container for other techniques, methodologies, and principles. So that's why that question is not a correct answer. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this little Scrum questions answered. I'm going to put these out regularly if you want to get your Scrum certifications passed quickly. I've helped 125,000 students so far with my courses on PSPO, PSM, and other certifications. Basically, if you're doing any kind of Scrum certification, my courses can help you. I've proven that with 125,000 students that have passed their certifications, most of them passing them first time. Just check me out on Udemy or Learn Management Online. I'll put a link in the description of this video and just search for Michael James. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this interesting and useful, and good luck with your Scrum certifications. Goodbye.